aggression of human leads to material orientation. Summary of the previous session. Human are motivated by lust and aggression. In other way, available resources are scarce or limited. Nature of lust and aggression of human leads to material orientation of the human. Lust and aggression of human, scarcity of the resources and material orientation of the human leads to develop selfishness of the individual. Selfishness of individual leads to the market orientation. Outcomes of Western economy. Majority of the world population remains poor. Growing gap between rich and poor. Increasing environmental pollution. Developing drug market and new form of slave trade. Increasing corruptions. Stock markets are running as global casinos. Spiritual teaching. There are no independent things. Human are viewed as part of a large whole. Holistic view. Universe consists of combined patterns of energy. If we need to know a thing, we have to know the whole from which they originate. We are more like intangible. Modern knowledge economy. Not consider the material possession. Consider domain of mind or creativity. Business strategies focus less on things and more on how to manage them. Innovation is based on intellectual capital. Conclusion. Competition and consumption have bypassed spiritual and moral issues. Economists have overlooked that the more we consume, the happier we are. Market will bring us all the things that we want. Our satisfaction is obtained by the senses. Consuming material goods leads sensual experiences. This feeds an emotion of sensual desire. At the same time, competitors are longing after or desire the same things on the limited resources. Hence, we experience fear, the fear of losing out, the fear that our desire will not be satisfied. Mechanism of expanding capitalism is based by two strong emotions: desire and fear. Summary of the previous session. Human are motivated by lust and aggression. In other way, available resources are scarce or limited. Nature of lust and aggression of human leads to material orientation of the human.
Okay, then this is the summary of the previous session. Then I develop a model to understand the traditional economics. Then first one, human, nature of the human. The nature of the human usually explained through two things: lust and aggressions. Lust and aggression. Human are motivated by lust and aggression. Then secondly, we know our resources are scarce. Therefore, that is the reason we are using management. Then in one side, human are motivated by lust and aggression. In other way, resources are scarce. Then as a result of human are motivated by lust and aggression, it lead to Humans are material oriented. People like to acquire material things. For example, I need to buy a car, I need to buy a house. Likewise, material things. We are concerned in material things. Then there are three components: lust and aggression, scarce resource, and material orientation. Then these three components leading to
lust and aggression of human, scarcity of the resources and material orientation of the human leads to develop selfishness of the individual.
then the result is human become a selfish individual or man. Then as a result of scarce resource, lust and aggression, material orientation, human try to fulfill their selfishness, self-interest. When people going to fulfill their self-interest, then they lead to or they think about the market.
Selfishness of individual leads to the market orientation.
Then market orientation, what is the nature of the market orientation? It is competition. Then there is a competition in the market. Then people, the one side of the people is selfish. Then other way, the market is competition. There is a competition of the market. Therefore, the competition and selfish play the role in the economy.
Outcomes of Western economy. Majority of the world population remains poor. Growing gap between rich and poor. Increasing environmental pollution. Developing drug market and new form of slave trade. Increasing corruptions. Stock markets are running as global casinos.
Then what is the modern economic outcomes? Then many people say the economy is the main mechanism to run the world. However, Western or the modern economy bring many disasters to the human-oriented society. One is the poor, nature of the poor people. Then majority of the world populations are poor. They are trying to fulfill their basic requirement. Basic requirement may be meal. කන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා හිතන මිනිස්සු ප්‍රමාණය අතිවිශාලයි ලෝකයේ තුල. Then second one, growing gap between rich and poor. Day to day, when they are doing their business activities, this gap is increasing. There are less rich people, there are more poor people. දුප්පත් සහ පොහොසත් මිනිස්සු අතර පරතරය එන්න මේ ආර්ථික පද්ධති තුළ වැඩිවීමෙන් පවතිනවා. Increasing environmental pollution. As you know, there are many environmental pollution which are done by many factories. When introducing new factories to the country, it means polluting the environment, damaging the environment. Therefore, as a result of increase in pollution, some cities in the world need to buy oxygen. Then we are fortunately enjoy the air without paying money. But some cities, people in the cities are facing a very big issue regarding the fresh air. Then fourth one, developing drugs market and new form of slave trade. Then I explain this new form of slave trade. Then you are wearing long sleeve shirts, trousers, shoes, wearing tie. Then sometimes you are using car, but actually you are doing the slave behavior. Then drug markets, drug is common. For the example, uh, around the university there are many drug sellers. Then you can enjoy using ganja or heroin or whatever other drugs because there are many drug sellers in our country. Then the fourth one, increase in corruptions. Then it is also common, especially when we are talking about politician, we are labeling the politician name with the corruptions. Then corruption is common in all government organization, corruption. Then last one, stock market. Then stock market, we are thinking stock markets are running with pure way. No, it is not the pure way. It is like a global casino. These are the visible outcome of Western economy. Then against to the Western economy, then there is another idea developed by the people who are living in the world. The idea is spiritual training or spiritual teaching.
Spiritual teaching. There are no independent things. Human are viewed as part of a large whole.
Then according to the spiritual teaching, self, there is no self, no individual concept. There are no independent things in the world. You depend on your parent, your parent depend on you. Likewise, we are always bonding with others. There is no independent things in the world, according to the spiritual teaching. The second point given by spiritual training is human are viewed as part of a large whole. We are living in the large society, large thing, large area, large space. Therefore, human or individual become a small part of the large whole. Then the second thing again explain the first one. As a part of the large whole, we are always depending on other things.
Holistic view. Universe consists of combined patterns of energy. If we need to know a thing, we have to know the whole from which they originate. We are more like intangible.
Then another view developed by modern knowledge economy, knowledge society, holistic view. Then according to the holistic view, like spiritual view teaching, universe consists of combined pattern of energy. Our energy usually presenting a pattern. The pattern is combined pattern of energy. Then if we need to know a thing, we have to know the whole from which they originate. Then if we are going to review a thing or consider a thing, then we have to think the thing regarding the holistic way or whole picture. Then third one, we are more like intangible. People are intangible. Our mind is intangible. Therefore, our value is unmeasurable, intangible nature.
Whole from which they originate. We are more like intangible. Modern knowledge economy. Not consider the material possession. Consider domain of mind or creativity. Business strategies focus less on things and more on how to manage them. Innovation is based on intellectual capital.
Then third view, modern knowledge economy, not the traditional or Western oriented economy. Modern knowledge economy also emphasize like spiritual and holistic view. Modern knowledge economy emphasize not consider the material possessions. Then traditional economic consider the material possession. Material belong in the material thing. But modern economy emphasize not the material thing, belong in the material thing. Then second one, consider domain of mind. Then modern knowledge economy consider the mind power, creativity power. Then business strategies focus less on thing, Business strategies are leading to less material thing, and they lead to manage them for gaining more. Business strategies focus less on thing and more on how to manage them. They using small thing how to gain the more. That is the business strategy today. Then last one, innovation is based on our creativity, mind power.
And more on how to manage them. Innovation is based on intellectual capital. Conclusion. Competition and consumption have bypassed spiritual and moral issues. Economists have overlooked that the more we consume, the happier we are. Market will bring us all the things that we want.
Then what is the conclusion about the more traditional or Western oriented economy? Then first one, competition. Competition is common. Without competition, there is no economy, there is no market, there is no business. Competition is important according to the traditional or Western oriented economy. The second one, competition depend on the consumption. If we are not consumed, there is no demand for the product. Therefore, for the demand of the product, we have to consume. Therefore, competition and the consumption are important in the traditional economy, have bypassed spiritual and moral issues. Then, as a result of competition and consumption, there are many moral issues. It unethical behaviors, people presenting unethical behaviors, moral issues regarding the competition and consumption. The second, economics have overlooked that the more we consume, the happier we are. Then, according to the traditional or Western oriented economy, they assume when we are eating more, it means we are happy. When I have more car or two, three, four, five car, it means I am happy. Then the question is, are we uh, are we happy when we are consuming more? The third one, market will bring us all the things that we want. Then market, we assume market provide all the things. Huh? Whatever the thing we need, then we can go and buy from the market.
Our satisfaction is obtained by the senses. Consuming material goods leads sensual experiences. This feeds an emotion of sensual desire.
Then fourth one, usually as a human, using our senses, we obtain our satisfaction. Therefore, consuming material goods lead sensual experiences. Sensual, our senses experience, sensual experience. This feeds an emotion of sensual desires. Then, when we are going to market and buy a something and consume the thing, then it means it gives sensual experience, sensual desires. Then people are living in the world with the sensual desires. We try to fulfill our sensual desires.
Desire. At the same time, competitors are longing after or desire the same things on the limited resources. Hence, we experience fear, the fear of losing out, the fear that our desire will not be satisfied.
Then, when we are concerning the competitor or producer, manufacturer, they are desire the same thing. Same thing means they need what? Fulfill their sensual desires. What are their sensual desires? Maximizing the profit. How they maximize the profit using the limited resources. Then their desires is maximizing profit. Then how they maximize their profit using the limited resources. When they are going to maximize their desires, so the profit utilizing limited resources, then there is a fear. Therefore, they experience fear. Why? The fear that our desires will not be satisfied through the limited on the conditions of limited resources and the desires. Then there are two important elements we can find through the traditional or modern economy. First one desire, other one is fear. ආසාවක් තියෙනවා, මිනිස්සුන්ට ආශාවක් තියෙනවා sensual experience ගන්න. ඒ වගේම producer ආසාවක් තියෙනවා යාගේ sensual experience, ඒ කියන්නේ profit එක ගන්න. හැබැයි මේ දෙගොල්ලම අතර තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නයක් සම්පත් හිඟකම නිසා fear එකක්, බයක් තියෙනවා මෙය ලබා ගත හැකි වේද කියලා.
Mechanism of expanding capitalism is based by two strong emotions: desire and fear.
Then what is the nature of the capitalism or capitalist mode of productions? The mechanism of expanding capitalism. මේ ධනවාදය පුළුල් වීමේ යාන්ත්‍රණය ගත්තම ඒ පුළුල් වෙන යාන්ත්‍රය තුල emotions දෙකක් තියෙනවා, හැඟීම් දෙකක් තියෙනවා, reasons elements දෙකක් තියෙනවා. There are two emotions when expanding the capitalistic mode of productions. What are the two elements, two emotions? Desire. අපිට ආසාවන් තෘප්ත කරන්න ඕනේ. As a producer, we need to satisfy our desire. As a consumer, we need to fulfill our desires. However, when we are going to fulfill our desires, utilizing limited resource, scarce resource, then there is a fear.
Buddhist Economics Session 2. Traditional Economics and Buddhist Economics. Traditional economics concentrates on self-interest. The Buddhist view challenges it by changing the nature of self to anatta or no self. Anatta imagines that all things perceived by one's senses are not actually I or mine, and therefore, human must detach themselves from this feeling. Buddhist economists believe that the self-interest-based opportunistic approach has always failed to practice the ethics. According to Buddhist economists, generosity is a viable economic model because human beings tend to reciprocate to feelings, either positively or negatively, by giving back more than what is given to them. Traditional economists emphasize importance to maximizing profits and individual gains. Buddhist economics minimize suffering or losses for all living and non-living things. Studies conducted by them have shown that human beings show greater sensitivity to loss than to gains, and therefore people should concentrate more on reducing the former. There is a difference with respect to the concept of desire. Traditional economist encourages material wealth and desire. In Buddhist economics, importance is given to simplify one's desire. Overall well-being decreases if people pursue meaningless desires. Many economists advocate maximizing markets to a point of saturation. Buddhist economists aim at minimizing violence. Traditional economics do not take into consideration primordial stakeholders like future generations and the natural world because their vote is not considered relevant in terms of purchasing power. They think that other stakeholders such as poor and marginalized people are underrepresented because of their inadequate purchasing power and preference is given to the strongest stakeholders. Buddhist economists advocate ahimsa or non-violence. Ahimsa prevents doing anything that directly causes suffering to oneself or others and urges to find solutions in a participative way. Western economists try to maximize instrumental use where the value of any entity is determined by its marginal contribution to the production output. Buddhist economists feel that the real value of an entity is neither realized nor given importance to. They try to reduce instrumental use and form caring organizations which will be rewarded in terms of trust among the management, co-workers and employees. Western economists tend to believe that bigger is better and more is more. Buddhist economists believe that small is beautiful and less is more. Western economists view bigness is impersonal. Bigness is insensitive. Bigness has lust to power. Buddhist economists view smallness is free. Smallness is efficient. Smallness is creative. Smallness is enjoyable. Smallness is enduring. According to the Western economics and the Buddhist economics, Western economics consist of maximize profit, maximize desires, maximize market, maximize instrumental use, maximize self-interest. Bigger is better and more is more. Buddhist economics consists of minimize suffering against to the maximizing profit, minimize desires against to the maximizing desires, minimize violence against to the maximize market, minimize instrumental use against to the maximizing instrumental use, minimize self-interest against to the maximizing self-interest. Small is beautiful against to the bigger is better. Less is more against to the more is more.
Okay, then today's session try to compare the traditional or Western economics with the Buddhist economics philosophy.
Traditional economics and Buddhist economics. Traditional economics concentrates on self-interest.
Then I emphasize traditional economic is based on self or self-interest or selfishness.
The Buddhist view challenges it by changing the nature of self to anatta or no self.
Then, as a Buddhist student, I think you know we are saying Panchaskandha, 5 aggregates. Panchaskandha Vigrahaya, Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. Then this is Buddhism. Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. Panchaskandha. Then Panchaskandha explain, 5 aggregate explain no self, concept of no self. Then I will explain 5 aggregate in another session, not in the economics session. Then you can get the idea. Then according to the Buddhist view, there is no individual person. For the example, when I concern myself, there is no my name, because I am composite of 5 aggregate. මම හැදිලා තියෙන්නේ කොටස් 5කින්. I composite of 5 aggregates: Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vinyana. When we are separate these 5 components, then there is no individual. That is the meaning of no self. When I remove my rupa, physical part, and the other sensual or perception part, then there is no myself. That is the no self concept, anatta concept. Then anatta, imagine that all things perceived by one's senses are not actually I. Mama kiyala kenek naha. There is no the concept of I according to the Buddhism or mind, and therefore human must detach themselves from the feelings. Then as a result of Buddhism, the 5 aggregates, so no self concept, there is no attachment between the feelings and the human. huh? Then detach themselves from this feeling.
Anatta imagines that all things perceived by one's senses are not actually I or mine, and therefore, human must detach themselves from this feeling. Buddhist economists believe that the self-interest-based opportunistic approach has always failed to practice the ethics.
Then according to the Buddhist economics, then we know the Western economics based on the opportunistic approach. If there is an opportunity, then we try to access the opportunity, and through the access, we try to gain the maximum profit. When we are going to gain the maximum profit through searching the golden opportunities, sometime, not sometime, most of the time, we are violating our ethics. We are breaking our ethics. We are ignoring our ethics. Therefore, Buddhist economics believe self-interest based opportunistic approach, selfishness based opportunistic approach, ආත්මාර්ථකාමී පදනම් කරගනිපු ප්‍රවේශයක් තුලදී always fail to practice the ethics. Then we are not practicing the ethics. අපි ethics සදාචාරයන් practice කරන්නේ නැහැ කියලා කියනවා.
According to Buddhist economists, generosity is a viable economic model because human beings tend to reciprocate to feelings, either positively or negatively, by giving back more than what is given to them.
Then Western economics based on self or individual or self-interest. But then Buddhist economics propose don't based on self-interest or selfishness. Then Buddhist economics emphasize to practice the generosity, nirlobha, generosity. Then generosity is a viable economic model. Human beings tend to reciprocate to feelings, either positive or negatively, by giving back more than what is given to them. For example, when I give 100 rupees to you, then you try to give more than 100 rupees to me. Giving back more than what is given to them. මම දෙන ප්‍රමාණයට වඩා වැඩි ප්‍රමාණයක් මට ලැබෙනවා. The reason is giving. දෙන එක මත තමයි මේ generosity එක මත තමයි මේක ලැබෙන්නේ. මම රුපියල් 100ක් දුන්නොත් මට 100ට වඩා වැඩි මුදලක්, වැඩි ගාණක්, වැඩි ප්‍රතිලාභයක් අනාගතයේදී හම්බ වෙන්න පුළුවන් මේ නිර්ලෝභය නැත්නම් generosity කියන economic model එක තුල. කියලා තමයි Buddhist economics වලදී කතා කරන්නේ.
Traditional economists emphasize importance to maximizing profits and individual gains. Buddhist economics minimize suffering or losses for all living and non-living things.
Okay, then second point. Then first point explain traditional economic concentrate on self-interest. Then the second one emphasize traditional economics emphasize important to maximizing profit. It is visible, it is common, maximizing profit and individual gain. Then entirely economy focus maximizing profit and individual gain. However, Buddhist economics try to minimizing suffering, not the maximizing profit. Then Western economy try to maximizing profit. ලාභ උපරීම කරන්න හදනවා. But in the Buddhist economics view, they try to minimize the suffering, minimizing the suffering. Suffering, වේදනාව අඩු කිරීමට උත්සාහ කරනවා. Then here suffering mean losses. Loss එක අඩුව අඩුපාඩුව පාඩුවීම අඩු කිරීම තමයි Buddhist economics වල try කරන්නේ. Then Buddhist economics minimize suffering or losses for all living and non-living things. Studies conducted by them have shown that human beings show greater sensitivity to loss than to gain. That is very practical statement. Human beings show greater sensitivity to loss than to gain. දැන් උදාහරණයක් විදිහට මට රුපියල් ලක්ෂයක් හම්බුනොත් ඒකට තියෙන sensitivity එක. For the example, if I receive 1 lakh, then I have a sensitivity to the 1 lakh. However, we consider another situation. Then I lost my 1 lakh. රුපියල් ලක්ෂයක් හොරු ගන්නවා. Then stealing by a man. Then the loss is more than the gain. අර loss එක ලක්ෂ නැතිවීමේ loss එක අර ලක්ෂයක් හම්බුනාම ලැබෙන feeling එකට වඩා වැඩි. The feeling of losing something is greater than the feeling of receiving something. That is the base used to develop. That is the base used to develop business economics as minimizing suffering. Then in the Western philosophy, we try to maximize profit. We ignore the losing or loss. However, Buddhist economics emphasize loss because loss is powerful than the gain. Loss bring more dissatisfaction than the satisfaction gained from the profit. Studies conducted by them have shown that human beings show greater sensitivity to loss than to gain, and therefore people should concentrate more on reducing the former, reducing the loss.
Studies conducted by them have shown that human beings show greater sensitivity to loss than to gains, and therefore people should concentrate more on reducing the former. There is a difference with respect to the concept of desire.
This is the third differences. Differences with respect to the concept of desire. How Western people perceive the desire and Buddhist people perceive the desire, concept of desire.
Traditional economist encourages material wealth and desire. In Buddhist economics, importance is given to simplify one's desire. Overall well-being decreases if people pursue meaningless desires.
Then traditional economics encourage material wealth and desire. Then as a human living in the society, we try to collect the material thing because we are desired to the material thing, material position. However, Buddhist people, Buddhist economy, or the philosophy of Buddhist economy emphasize simplify one's desire. Then you have to simplify your desires. For the example, you try to buy a more smartphone. Then according to the Buddhist economics, then you have to buy smartphone with minimum features, not giving more money or with more. Then you are buying smartphone with more features. Then here say You have to buy a smartphone, but with basic item, basic thing. That is to simplify one's desire. Then, if you are going to simplify your desires, then you become a simple man. Then when you are going to material orientation or collecting the material wealth, then there are more desires mean you are complex, you are dynamic. ඔළුවේ දෝහක් දේවල් ලක්ෂයක් දේවල් තියාගෙන ජීවත් වෙනවා. When you are living with 1,000 ideas in your brain, what will be happen? Then you are going to play the competition. You need to competition. You are present in competition. Why competition is the way you are gaining material wealth or desires, fulfilling desires. However, if your mind has 2, 3, 4, 5 desires, objectives, target, then you can easily achieve these things because your mind is free. There is no competition. Therefore, you can win the game. Why? You are simple. Then overall well-being decrease if people pursue meaningless desires. Many people living in the world running their life without meaningful desires. Many are living with meaningless desires. Meaningless desires. අර්ථයක් නැති ආශාවන් සමූහයක් මත තමයි මේක දුවන්නේ. In the overall well-being decrease if people pursue meaningless desires.
Many economists advocate maximizing markets to a point of saturation.
This is the fourth point. Many economists advocate maximizing market. Maximizing market.
Buddhist economists aim at minimizing violence. Traditional economics do not take into consideration primordial stakeholders like future generations and the natural world because their vote is not considered relevant in terms of purchasing power.
Then, according to the traditional economics of the modern economics, they try to maximize in the market. They try to maximize the market. What is the meaning of maximizing market? Maximizing market means try to gain more profit. When they are going to gain more profit, some parties who are in the market are ignored by the producer. Here say, then traditional economics do not take into consideration primordial stakeholders. Primordial stakeholders. Who are the primordial stakeholders? Future generations. We are not concerned the future generation. Are you thinking about your children? No. Now you are not thinking. Huh? And the natural world, are you thinking about the natural environment? There are many recent incidents we have no uh, regarding damage in the forest. We are always damaging the natural world. Why we are not consider the future generations? තව අවුරුදු 10කදී 20කදී 30කදී නෙමෙයි 100කදී 200කදී එන generation එකට මොකද වෙන්නේ? Are we are thinking about the generation who are coming in 100, 200 years in future? We are not thinking. When compared with the history, our natural environment, forest, the amount of the forest drastically decrease because we are ignoring the natural world. Why we are ignoring future generation and natural world? The reason is what is not considered relevant in term of purchasing power in future generation. Future generation has the power in future, but today their power is zero. Then what is the power of the natural world against to the human activities? The natural world power is very small. However, you have to remember sometime natural power, natural world power of the natural world sometime become serious issues to control the human behavior. For the example, the COVID-19. eh, Then according to the COVID-19, people are isolated. Then you can't deal with other people because of spreading the virus. Therefore, then automatically natural world give the lessons how to behave in the world because there is a limit for the natural world. Natural world එකට සීමාවක් තියෙනවා. For the example, then when compared with the natural world and the human activities are speed rather than the natural world. Natural world එකේ speed එකයි human speed එකයි බොහොම වෙනස්. Human can destroy a jungle within 1 to 3 hours. පැය දෙක තුනකින් කැලයක් ඉවර කරන්න පුළුවන්. However, natural world එක හැදෙන්න to develop natural world, natural forest or natural jungle, they sometime it need more than 100 200 years. අවුරුදු 100ක් 200ක් අවශ්‍යයි. Habai, I think you have some idea regarding the old house or building which is given up by the people. පරණ ගෙවල් තියෙන මිනිස්සු අත්තරලා දා then gradually the wall and the roof everything are covered by the plants. පළවලින් මේක පිරෙන්න පටන් ගන්නවා. කාග්බෝ එක එක දේවල් වලින් මේ බිත්ති පැලිච්ච තැන් වලින් ගස් ඇවිල්ලා අවුරුදු ගාණක් යනකොට මේ human creativity එක creation එක මිනිස්සුගේ නිර්මාණය හිමීහිට කැලේට අල්ල ගන්නවා අද්ද ගන්නවා. Therefore there is a power for the natural world. But when we are concerned in our day-to-day activities, day-to-day desires, day-to-day purpose, we have more power than the natural environment power. Therefore, we are not giving sufficient consideration to the future generation as well as natural world. Therefore, Buddhist economics aim at minimizing violence. Then මොකක්ද කියන්නේ violence එක අඩු කරන්න market එක maximize කරන්න නෙවෙයි violence එක මේ උල්ලංඝනය කිරීම අඩු කරන්න. You have to minimize the violence in the economy.
They think that other stakeholders such as poor and marginalized people are underrepresented because of their inadequate purchasing power and preference is given to the strongest stakeholders.
Then it clearly explains why traditional economics from Western economics concern market and competition. Then there are some stakeholders like poor and marginalized people. දුප්පත් මිනිස්සු සහ අර පැත්තකට වෙලා ඉන්න marginalized කොන් වෙලා ඉන්න මිනිස්සු are underrepresented. They are not presented in the market. When we are producing a product or giving a service to the market, we are concerned in the capable customers, economically viable customers. We are not thinking about the poor. මොකක් හරි product එකක් හදනකොට අපි හිතුවද දුප්පත් මිනිහට දෙන්නේ මොකක්ද කියලා හිතන්නේ. එහෙම නැත්නම් පැත්තකට කොන් කරලා තියෙන මිනිස්සු ගැන හිතන්නේ. We are ignore marginalized people and poor people. They are not presenting in the market. Why? Their purchasing power is less. Their purchasing power is less. අපි කැමතිද ඉන්වෙස්ට්මන්ට් එකක් කරන්න ලොකු ඉන්වෙස්ට්මන්ට් එකක් දුප්පත් මිනිස්සු ගැන හිතලා ප්‍රයිස් එක අඩුවට නෑ. අපි එහෙම කරන්නේ නෑ. අපි දුප්පත් මිනිස්සු අයින් කරනවා. පැත්තක ඉන්න මිනිස්සු අයින් කරනවා. අයින් කළා අපිට viable market එකකට අපි යනවා. feasible market එකට අපි යනවා. When we are going to the feasible market, considering our profit, automatically we ignore the poor and marginalized people. Why? Their purchasing power is less. And here's a preferences is given to the strongest stakeholders. In the market capitalism, the market mechanism, the people are giving preference to the strongest stakeholders. ශක්තිමත්ම උනන්දු දක්වන පාර්ශවයන්ට තමයි අපි අපේ preference එක දෙන්නේ. ඇයි? profit maximize කරන්න. Then Buddhist philosophy explain you are not to go for maximizing the market. You have to practice minimizing the violence.
Buddhist economists advocate ahimsa or non-violence. Ahimsa prevents doing anything that directly causes suffering to oneself or others and urges to find solutions in a participative way.
Then what is the Buddhist teaching? The teaching of the Buddhist explain you have to practice ahimsa. Ahimsa. Hinsa when toravima, non-violence. Ahimsa. Ahimsa present doing anything that directly cause suffering to oneself or other and urge to find solution in a participative way. Then when you are going to offer something to the market, then you have to think about what is the suffering, what are the source of suffering when I am offering this product to the market. Then if we can minimize the suffering, then it is more benefited. It gives more benefit to the society. Therefore, ahimsa prevent anything, doing anything that directly cause suffering. Suffering එකයි නැති කරන්නේ. Non-violence එකේ. To oneself and others.
Western economists try to maximize instrumental use where the value of any entity is determined by its marginal contribution to the production output.
This is the fifth one. Western economics try to maximize instrumental use. What are the instrumental use? For the example, then we need to a mobile phone. Then what is the basic purpose of phone? For the communication. But nowadays there are many handphone with different features. Then you can take a photo, then you can use a phone to game, play the game. Then different facilities are provided. When we are adding facilities, the price is increasing. Why? There are more instruments. There are more instruments. When we use more, adding more instruments to the product, the price is going to increase. In other way, we have to remember we are living in a scarce resource society. Our society is scarce, based on scarce resource, limited resource. When we are adding instrument, augmental product mean the products are not needed to live to fulfill the basic need. Then හාල් තුන පහ කරවල අපට අවශ්‍යයි. ඒව නැති වුණොත් ලෝකෙ ජීවත් වෙන්න විදියක් නැහැ. හැබැයි අපට ඔරලෝසුවක් නැහැ කියලා ජීවත් වෙන්න බෑයි කියන්න බෑ. Without watch we can live, but without rice or coconut or dal we can't live, because dal, coconut, rice, those are basic things. But watch is not the basic thing. Then what watch become an instrument, additional instrument to the human behavior or augmental products. Then from the Western philosophy, they try to maximize the instrumental use. But we will see what is the
Buddhist economists feel that the real value of an entity is neither realized nor given importance to.
Then according to the Buddhist economics, they say, then when we are adding something to the basic product, then we can say we are saying our product is with these features, but it doesn't say the real value of an entity. Entity ke real value එක පෙන්නන්නේ නැහැ. What is the real value of the entity? Hmm? Is neither realized nor given importance to.
They try to reduce instrumental use and form caring organizations which will be rewarded in terms of trust among the management, co-workers and employees.
Then what is the Buddhist idea about reducing instrumental things? Instrumental things. Then Buddhist teaching emphasize you have to reduce instrumental use, and the amount of the money you are going to invest for the additional instrumental use, then you can invest the money, you can invest in your caring organization. Caring. Caring කියලා කියන්නේ අපි මිනිස්සු ගැන හිතාමතා වැඩ කරන වා කියන එක. හිතාමතා වැඩ කරන නැත්නම් මිනිස්සු ගැන හිතාලා ඒ මිනිස්සුන්ට උදව් කිරීම කරන්න කියන එක තමයි කියන්නේ. අර ඉන්ස්ට්‍රුමන්ටල් යූස් වලට යන දේවල් අපිට පුළුවන් යූස් කරන්න caring කියන concept එක. Then you can use the money for the caring, not investing for the instrumental use. When you invest in money for caring organization, then it will be rewarded. ඉස්සරහදී rewarded වෙන්න පුළුවන් in term of trust. Trust එකක් ඇති වෙනවා. This company treating to the employee, this company treating to the managers, this company treating to the customers. කියලා trust එකක් ඇති වෙනවා. Trust among the management, co-workers and the employee.
Western economists tend to believe that bigger is better and more is more.
This is the last one. Western economics always try to practice bigger. Why? Bigger is the better. If I have many houses, many vehicles, big salary, that is the big. Big mean I am better. My living standard is better. Therefore, they try to say more is more. ගොඩක් කියන්නේ හොඳක් කියලා තමයි Western philosophy එකේදී කියන්නේ.
Buddhist economists believe that small is beautiful and less is more.
Then what is the Buddhist philosophy? Buddhist philosophy say small is beautiful and less is more. More is more. That is the Western economics. Less is more, the Buddhist economics. Then bigger is better in Western economics, but small is beautiful, not the better. Beautiful, ලස්සනයි. Small, පොඩියට ජීවත් වීම, simply ජීවත් වීම, beautiful කියලා තමයි මේකෙන් කියන්නේ.
Beautiful and less is more. Western economists' view. Bigness is impersonal. Bigness is insensitive. Bigness has lust to power. Buddhist economists' view. Smallness is free. Smallness is efficient. Smallness is creative. Smallness is enjoyable. Smallness is enduring.
Okay. Then according to the Western economics, bigness is impersonal. Impersonal, not the personal. It is impersonal. Bigness is insensitive. Insensitive, no sense. Bigness has lust to power. ගොඩක් තියෙනවා නම් බලයට කෑදරයක් ඇති වෙනවා. ගොඩක් තියෙනවා නම් sensitivity එක නැති වෙනවා. ගොඩක් තියෙනවා නම් අපෞද්ගලිකත්වය impersonal එකක් හැදෙනවා. Then Buddhist economics view. What is the Buddhist economics view? Simpleness. සරල බව. Simpleness is free. Simpleness is efficient. කාර්යක්ෂමයි. Simpleness is creative. If your mind is free, then you can think creatively. Smallness is enjoyable. enjoy කරන්න පුළුවන්. Smallness is enduring. ගොඩාක් කාලයක් තියෙන දෙයක් තමයි smallness කියන කියන්නේ.
Smallness is enjoyable. Smallness is enduring. According to the Western economics and the
Okay, this is the comparison between modern Western economy and the Buddhist economy. Then here say modern economy or Western economy or traditional economy emphasize these things, maximize profit. However, Buddhist economics emphasize minimize suffering. ලාභය උපරිම කරන්න නෙවෙයි suffering වේදනාව අඩු කරන්න. Minimize desires, maximize desires under modern or Western traditional economy. Then under Buddhist economics, minimize desires, ආසාවන් අඩු කරන්න. Then under Western economics, maximize market. Under Buddhist economics, minimize violence එක අඩු කරන්න. Then under Western economics, maximize instrumental use, but under Buddhist economics, minimize instrumental use. Then under Western economics, maximize self-interest. However, under Buddhist economics, minimize self-interest. Then bigger is better and more is more under modern economy or the Western economy, but small is beautiful or less is more under Buddhist economics. Okay, then I think it is enough now. Time is 4:10. Okay, then there are only 13 students. Then I hope to continue my session next Friday. Then I lost, I think, 1 month, 4 weeks. Therefore, I need to cover these 4 sessions. Therefore, I hope to take tutorial class as well as my formal lecturing time. This is enough for today. Then I think recently there was, I think, meeting or the annual general meeting of your association. I think no president. Prasanna Sampath. Where is the president? හුළුගල්ල නැද්ද? හුළුගල්ල ගිහිල්ලද? හරි ඕකේ. එහෙනම් සිකුරාදට ආපහු හම්බෙමු. සුබ දවසක් සුබ රාත්‍රියක් කියලා ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරනවා.